Good evening to you all. Welcome to today's e-learning, vacation e-learning class. Today we are talking about friction, which is the last topic under machines, And by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to explain the meaning of friction, the type of friction, and outline some 3 ways to reduce friction and the importance of friction. Starting, friction. What do you understand by friction? Friction is something that we have been encountering every day in our daily activities. Friction simply means the force that tends to oppose the motion of one surface over the another. So the force that prevents another body that are in contact to move or to overcome the other is known as friction. And it is also the force that tries to stop the relative sliding, as I said, motion between two bodies that are in contact. Friction depends on the weight of the object as well as the surface area. Because if the surface area is smooth, then friction will not be possible. But when it is rough, then friction can easily occur as compared to smooth surface. But note, friction in a fluid is called viscosity. That is, friction also occur in fluid. Example, water, honey, oil, and any other liquid we can talk about. Friction also occur. So the friction that takes place in liquid is what we call viscosity. Let's look at the type of friction. We are having 2 major types of friction. The common one, that is the static friction, and the dynamic or kinetic friction. When we talk about the static friction, we are saying is the force required to overcome friction and cause a stationary object to begin to move. So the force that causes a stationary object to move in the act of preventing each other from moving is what we call the static friction. And for the dynamic or the kinetic, as the name goes, kinetic friction, it's a force that helps to maintain a body that are in uniform motion over a surface with which it is in contact. So 2 bodies that is in motion, that are in contact, also undergo friction. For example, it's an electric sewing machine. If you look at the way the parts are moving, the 2 parts are already in motion and they are also in contact. That is when we have the tire of a car that is on the wheel, and the tire that is on the wheel of a car. How or ways to reduce friction? How can we help to prevent friction from taking place? 1. The use of ball bearing in some part of machine. And the ball bearing is what you see here. We all know it, that they used to make those who have been pushing trucks and other things. The truck inside we have this device there, and we put the wood is placed here so that it will fit here. Then the balls will help the object to move. So by doing so, we are reducing friction to the minimum level so that the movement can be possible. Another way is also by the application of lubricant, that is lubrication or oiling. When you also apply oil, for example, if you take your palm and you put oil between them, or you apply pomade, it make the movement smooth and simple by helping to overcome friction as compared to without oil in your palm. It's also the same about polishing the surface that are in what contact. Powdered surface, that is, you can also apply powder that can also help to make it what smooth. And the last one, air lubricating machine too, is as in hover movers, also help to reduce friction. Friction is important at all. Does it help? But take note, without friction, as tell you, car brake will not work. Car brake cannot work. And you yourself as human being, walking will be difficult. That is why when you find yourself walking on a smooth surface where they have been having water on the surface, I tell you, when you are having slippers and you are not careful, you fall. So when you check at the bottom of our foot or our slippers, you see some zigzag shape there. They were not designed for life. They were designed purposely to make sure that friction can take place, that we can also walk on the ground. Another example is the car tire. You see, the car tire is having teeth around it, and those teeth are also there to help the car to stop when the driver apply brake. That is why when those who are moving on the motorways, when it rains and the teeth of their tires are nowhere to be found, when they apply brake, I tell you, to not work. Sometimes you put them on the surface because the teeth are not there, therefore friction is making it difficult for them not to stop. So it helps us also in grinding of what? An object. Grinding of pepper in mortar, using mortar and pestle. When you are grinding pepper inside, you see that you have designed the inside rough, and when you even add the granular salt to it, that one will even help it more so that it can easily grind it for you. Then it also helps to keep ladder in a fixed position so that when we clamp it, the ladder will not slip for us to fall. It also enables humans to strike matches to make fire. You see that when you pick the matches, when you strike it, so it helps us to light matches easily. It helps us to light matches easily. It helps us to light matches easily. For instance, if you look at the matches stick and look at the matches box, the side way, they have created a rough surface there. As we said, that friction take place between or two objects that are in contact, especially with a rough surface. So we have the rough surface at the side of the matches, then the head is also having a rough surface. So when you rub it hardly like this, then the heat that generates is what helps it to produce the fire or the light from the stick. And because the stick also supports burning, it makes the lighting easy for us. It also enables us to open top bottles or help to make screwing easy for us. So let's take note of it. Now let's look at the difference between viscosity and friction. We said viscosity is the friction that takes place in what? In fluid, while friction takes place in two solid surfaces. Viscosity cannot be reduced. It cannot, because it's already in a liquid state. But for friction, it can be reduced easily. Whilst the viscosity also depends on the density of the fluid, that is the thickness of this fluid. For example, if you take something like honey against water, you can see that the density of the honey or is higher than that of water. Then for friction, it does not depend on the density of the area that is in contact. So let's look at some simple experiments to compare the viscosity of two liquids. So we are taking two liquids to compare their viscosity, that's the friction that is taking place inside what? Liquid. So first, the material we need two measuring cylinders, as we learn, measuring cylinders as we learn from first year. Then we have two different liquid, A, water, and B, honey. Then we look at the two small ball like the ball bearings. We pick one of the same size. Then we need a stop clock. What do? We put the two small balls into a liquid at the same time. It must be done at the same time to make the work fair, to make it fair, like to ensure fairness in the experiment. But note the time the two balls take to reach the bottom. So you put the two balls into the two separate substances, that is the A and the B. Then you time it at the same time. Then you look at the one that will reach the bottom first, one that will reach late. So look at the setup here. We are having A, B, and the AB, that is at the beginning, the starting point. If you look at the starting point here, the starting point is here. Then at the middle point, that is in the course of the middle point, you see how the movement is going. Then at the latter part, you can see that the A landed the bottom before the B. So the observation, you can see that the A is having low viscosity, whilst B is having a higher viscosity. That will be for the observation. So we can also conclude that then container B will be the honey, because it has a higher viscosity than that of the A. It has a higher viscosity than that of the A. So what I want you to do is, you can take water and get something like palm oil. Pick these two substances, then take a small sample of stone, at least of the same size, and get clock, put the stones at the same time into the palm oil and the water. Then time yourself and look at the time that of the water and that of the palm oil will reach the bottom first. Then you keep your conclusion. When we meet at the school, then you tell me your observation and your conclusion. Thank you very much for being with me up to this point. That is all for friction for today. Have a nice evening. Good night. Bye bye.